What's going on, everybody? Welcome in. Episode 11 here of the Changavi show, and we are live. And with this beautiful green LED lighting on the back, really brings out my features, doesn't it? Friday night Anuj is here, baby. Yeah, that's what's up. While y'all are out partying and drinking and having fun and doing the normal things that college kids are doing, I'm going to be sitting here and ranting to everybody about the issues of the week. No, I'm kidding. No, I seriously love to do this, and like honestly, even though it's Friday night and there are a lot of other things to do, I still live with my parents, so there isn't necessarily a lot of things to do. But I also at the same time, this is fun. This is so much fun. Like I would honestly, this is an ideal Friday night. So I'm glad. But let's get right into it. What are the vibes? How we doing? Doing good. Honestly, doing pretty freaking good. Life is kind of getting busy again. So just supremely excited for that. Um, with school starting and the podcast and homework, there isn't enough time in the day to do everything, right? And uh and so I've been slacking a little bit in certain areas. I think I've been doing better in other areas and stuff. So it's figuring out the balance. We're only 2 weeks into the quarter. Submitted my tag application. I will not reveal where. We'll see how that goes. I hope that I'm not crying on November 15th uh, when that application comes out. So for those of you community college students listening, dude, the tag app, please God, I hope it goes well. Yeah, it's week 2 into the communications major. How's that going, bud? No, it's actually been multiple months, but this actually might be something I like. I don't know. I really like the professor I have for my 2 communications classes. It's the same dude. He's a really chill guy. Um, and I feel like this is something I can actually tolerate. I know I've done a lot of bitching and complaining about college, but this is something that's very interesting. It may not make me a lot of money out of college, and it is ranked one of the most useless majors to have, but I like it, so that's all that matters, right? I think that's all that matters. If you like something, man, just go for it. So that's been my motto for the last 2 years almost. So I'm just gonna kind of follow that and stick to it and see what happens. Um and yeah, I've been kind of wrestling in my head with that whole idea of like, am I going to get a job after grad? Am I going to like succeed financially after graduation? Am I going to be the person that I want to be? And I mean, shit, if I don't get a job, like that's fine. That's fucking fine. Because you know why? I get to focus on you guys. I get to focus on this baby. And I get, maybe cooler LED lights. I don't know. I don't know. Let's see what happens. But, I'm open. The point is, I'm open to the journey. There's a lot of time left. There's a lot of, you know, I feel like I don't have to work necessarily after college. I feel like that's not, the one priority on my mind is not getting a job after college because I really want to see this thing through. I really want to see this Changavi show through because I feel like it could really go somewhere. And I feel like I'm bringing something. I'm bringing something that people want. So we'll see what ends up happening with this. But yeah, those are the things that have been on my mind. Again, doing pretty solid though overall. Nothing too crazy has happened in my life, so I can't tell you guys any different. But actually, I want to highlight one thing real quick. This guy, Frank Somerville. I don't know if you guys know him. You probably don't. So those of you that don't know who Frank Somerville is, Frank Somerville is like a legend cable news anchor in the Bay Area. Like you talk, you talk to any old person, they'll be like, "Oh, Frank Somerville, we love Frank Somerville." Frank Somerville is dope. Okay, and this guy, like he's been like he wins Emmy awards year after year after year for being like one of the best local news anchors in the country. Like this dude is that legit, right? Think about how many cable news networks there are in like every province of the world or every province of the country, just like, how many news at 11s there are. Frank Somerville is the king of the fucking news at 11. And he was suspended off of KTVU recently due to the fact that he basically said like this Gabby Petito stuff, like why are we covering it? Basically what I was talking about on episode 10, and he was essentially like, why are we covering this so deep? Like, you know, obviously condolences to the Petito family, and like what happened to Gabby Petito is not right, and we need to look for Brian Laundrie, and like he was very just in that, but also he was like, dude, there's so many women of color that are missing that we're not even talking about. Like, what the frick are we doing? So that was very, very interesting. The network decided to suspend him for saying that. But I've gained even more respect for Frank Somerville. I thought Frank Somerville was a G before that. I'm probably the only member of the demographic between 18 and 24 that watches Frank Somerville. So but it is what it is. Shit. I mean, that's pretty much it. With Frank Somerville and KTVU and Gabby Petito. I mean, KTVU, what are you guys doing? Like, come on, guys. Anyway, I just wanted to highlight that because I feel like that's really important with Mr. Somerville and all the great work that he does. It shouldn't go unnoticed. So let's transition to this. We got to get into our sports topic for the week. And guys, I have to confess something. I've been getting into some wars. I've been getting into some fights. Not like physical fights. I'm a lover, not a fighter. That's not really my nature. You know the vibes. But I've been getting into some fights recently on Twitter regarding my beautiful San Francisco 49ers, the prized love of my life right now. I don't have a girlfriend, so I guess the San Francisco 49ers will have to do, right? But yeah, they are my team, and Twitter is a place for arguments, and usually I like to take the high road. I'm like, all right, this is it. But this Packers game got me really cheesed up. It got me real cheesed. I was like, bro, I ain't gonna do this. Like, this sucks. The Packers got me cheesed, bro. Like, I don't know. Like, it was just the game, the way it all turned out was so super just disappointing. I think as a 49ers fan, it was really disappointing just the way it turned out because there were so many errors, and I feel like it just amplified the problems that this franchise is having. And I've told multiple of my friends, like, I hate this team. Like, blah, blah, blah. I dislike them. And I do to a certain extent. I feel like there is like 20% of me that genuinely is just like, I'm so over this. But the reason why I'm starting wars, man, is because of fans. It's because of fans. And I am a fan. You guys are probably like, why are you talking about the problem with fans? Here's the problem. I think there are certain fans that are really cool. And I like interacting with those people because those people are like, okay, so this team is not beyond criticism. This team is not beyond the fact that you can criticize the 49ers. You can say, hey, what you are doing is incorrect. I like those fans. I like the fans that criticize the head coach and the defensive coordinator and the players. And because you need criticism. If you want to be better, you need to criticize. And you need to account for the fact that this team has glaring issues. And if you're not willing to do that, you're a fanatic. I mean, that's what fan stands for, right? Fanatic. And I was a fanatic for a very long time. I would defend every aspect of the organization. But I've come to realize my loyalty to the San Francisco 49ers is very, very simple. My loyalty is to the city. And this was best said in a tweet by Niner Nick. So shout out Niner Nick. My loyalty is to the franchise, it's to the city, and it's to the logo. Everything else, I am not necessarily inclined to be loyal to. I'm sorry. I am not necessarily like loyal to Jimmy Garoppolo, for example. I love Jimmy Garoppolo. I have his jersey. I like him a lot as a person. I think he's a really cool guy. As a quarterback, though, for my team, do I necessarily think he is the best? Probably not. I'm sorry. He is probably not the best quarterback that we could have for this team right now. because there's a guy by the name of Trey Lance that this team spent 3 first-round picks on, who's been sitting on the bench, who could arguably run this offense better than Jimmy Garoppolo, if not at the same level. And then you have Kyle Shanahan, who has been head coaching this team into a straight up freaking dumpster fire so far. I mean, it's not been pretty. Kyle Shanahan is the head honcho, whether you like it or not. So when there's an L on this team's record, I'd say 50% goes on the players and 50% goes on the coaching staff. And who is the head of the coaching staff? Last I checked, is Kyle Shanahan. And so, yes, of course, D'Amico Ryans is the defensive coordinator and all this, but yeah, Kyle Shanahan deserves 50% of the blame, and fans aren't willing to criticize the main honchos of the organization, aka the quarterback, aka the head coach, aka the defensive coordinator, because fans feel some sort of loyalty to these people. And I am not one of those fans. People call me, oh, you're biased, like you just want Trey. And I do want Trey in. I will be very adamant on that point. I want Trey Lance into this team. Absolutely. But here's the problem with fans. And I think this is the problem with fans all across the league, not just the San Francisco 49ers. I'm using the 49ers as an example for a microcosm of a problem that's going on throughout this freaking league. Here's the problem. Fans are loyal to a fault, and they are unwilling to criticize things when they are going wrong. When there's a sinking ship, fans are going down with it. And they will continue to do so. And they continue to do it. They do it with Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy Garoppolo, whether you like it or not, is the toxic ex-girlfriend of quarterbacks. He's the one that, cheats on you 18 times, but does something real sweet and comes back to you. That's what it is. That's what being a fan is really about. That's what I've realized is truly this franchise. Being a 49er fan is like, being fucking cheated on 18 times a day. That's really what it is. Same with the Warriors right now, at least. But like, they'll win your heart somehow, and then they'll just go break it somehow. That's just kind of, I feel like that's sports in general. But here's the problem. The main problem with fans is that they're loyal to a fault. They are way too loyal. They, tend to just argue. They defend players pointlessly with fake statistics that don't exist. They get in your face about this, that, and the other. It's like, dude, there's clearly wrong going on. Why can't we point that out? But I feel like that's also a microcosm of society too, right? If you think about it, politically, we are horrible. We're trash at being able to call out stuff when there's a sinking ship, right? Some people will be like, hey, listen, the Capitol riots happened. That has not happened before. People, half the country's like, whoa, 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 whoa. We cannot let, we will stand by our president, right? That's literally why Donald Trump, I think, won, in my opinion, is because he created a fan base. It wasn't necessarily that he got votes. It was he created a fan base. And that's the thing. When you have a fan base, fans are loyal to a fault. And I've realized this. And I think against the Green Bay Packers, when the San Francisco 49ers lost, that was the first time I didn't feel like a fan. It was the first time I felt like, oh, I'm not Stan. I'm I felt like an observer that had issues with the way things went down. I wasn't just going to loyally defend this team until I die. Of course, I want to see them do well. I want to see them go to the Super Bowl. I want to see a championship in my lifetime. But the problem is very simple. Fans are loyal to a fault, and I don't think I am necessarily. I feel like I'm changing in that fact. So that's my main problem with fans, is that I feel like we're too loyal. And I'm trying to cut back on my loyalty to the players and my loyalty to the head coach. And I realize my loyalty really lies within the city that I represent with this team and the logo and the franchise as a whole, but not necessarily the cogs within that machine. So that's what I'll say about the problem with fans. So let's go to this. The useless side of social media. Okay. So this topic, this is part of the pop culture, I guess. Today, I'm thinking of changing the name of the pop culture category to trending. What do you guys think of that? Trending. I like that. I like trending better because it's like very open. It's broad. Like what's trending right now. Social media is always trending, whether you like it or not. Anyway, here I like social media. I've gone on here and defended social media and said there are a lot of uses for it. The fact is, I probably wouldn't even be in existence if it weren't for social media, if it weren't for Twitter, if it weren't for Facebook, Instagram. I wouldn't be able to get the message out there. If I had a podcast in the 1980s, I'd probably be recording on like my Dell X37 8000, the family desktop computer that I was sharing with like three other people in my house. And then I'd have to like send letters to people and long distance phone calls over payphones to like market this. That the reality is it would be impossible. Okay. But we live in the 2020s now. And this is the era of innovation and everything is crazy. So you're able to spread your message way easier. But here's the useless side of social media. Dude, the amount of like it's this Gen Z side of social media. I'm not going to sit here and say meme culture is useless because I do believe to a certain extent, meme culture is creative expression. The people that create memes are people who are using memes. Oftentimes, memes. Okay, here's my theory about memes. Let's go on a little tangent for a second. My theory on memes is that memes are the equivalent of like political cartoons back in the 1900s. Like I feel like when people are going to be taking their AP tests, in the freaking 2090s, they're going to look at memes as like political cartoons. Memes are literally the modern day political cartoons if you think about it. The way like the Jim Carrey one where he's got the two arrows stuck in him and it's like Trump and Clinton, it's like and then like that is the equivalent of what a political cartoon was in the 1800s. It's just a more creative way of showing that. But and so I think memes are useful. I think the useless side of social media is this whole freaking idea of like different days. This is what inspired it, right? So 2 days ago was International Podcast Day. Okay. And as a podcaster, people should probably expect me to know when that is. I had no freaking idea until I opened up Twitter at 3:30 on fucking Wednesday and realized, oh, it's International Podcast Day, probably created by Spotify.com because they own most of the podcasts in this world. Yeah, because they want to make money. Oh, that's why. That's why. Dude, this is the problem. You know how like when you used to go to the store with your mom, she'd be like, Hallmark cards suck. Like Hallmark just created so many holidays. Hallmark created Valentine's Day. Hallmark has, popularized the whole idea of like your 20 of um like what else? Freaking there's so many. I mean, there's Hallmark holidays. The 4th of July. People bring 4th of July cards, like Hallmark holiday, right? Hallmark has the definition of Hallmark holiday is basically the start of consumerism culture, right? And social media is turning into freaking Hallmark, right? International Podcast Day, International Coffee Day, International Pizza Day, International Donut Day, National Siblings Day. Like, what the fuck? There's days for everything now. Why? Why? What is the use for that? Why are we feeding into the sibling day is so annoying. Okay. Like, it's not like I hate my sibling by any means. No, I don't. But it's like, it's just so performative. It's like, everybody's like, oh my God, happy National Sibling Day to this guy, or like, happy this. It's like, it's like, why? What is the point? Like, I don't understand. Like, National Pizza Day. Like, who comes up with this? Like, I'm curious to like how these holidays gain clout. Like, can I make a National Changavi Day tomorrow? October. Okay, you know what? Let's do it. Freaking my birthday, October 17th, is National Changavi Day. So I expect everybody that listens to this to tweet out hashtag National Changavi Day. I have created it. I created my day. There you go. Right? Like, everyone's like, no, I don't want to do that. That's stupid. Right? And that's literally every day. Every day there's some dumb holiday. I don't get it. Like, what? Like, it's just performative. It's like National Sibling Day, National Donut Day, National this day, National that day. Like, do we need a day for every freaking food item? There was like, do we need a day for every freaking, you know, like sport, national football day, National Basketball Day. I mean, I'm sure the NBA and the NFL would love it because they would profit off of it, right? And that's the same with like ice cream and pizza stores and coffee stores. They're like, we profit. Hella people are gonna come in so we can get hashtags like that. They're hella happy. They're the happiest people. So like that's the useless side of social media, in my opinion, is like the whole hashtag this, like hashtag national this day, hashtag that. It's like it's this whole and then the second part that I find kind of useless, and this is probably just me, right? I feel like there are different niches on social media. Right? You have fashion, you have sports, you have entertainment, and it's like whatever like you're into, you kind of just fall into that niche naturally. That like if you're into sports, you fall into the sports niche. If you're into fashion, you fall into fashion niche. I have nothing against fashion influencers. They're just not for me. But here's the thing. Influencer culture is turning into this freaking toxic thing. And let me argue why. People probably sit here and they're like, Anuj, aren't you just trying to be an influencer? Like, you're just trying to get those freaking, like, Squarespace ads so you can make some money on this podcast rather than just sit here and freaking talk your shit. Yeah, I totally, to a certain extent, yes. Squarespace, if you're listening, please give me an ad. No, I'm kidding. But, like, yeah, to a certain extent, like, ads are the way that influencers make money. And I get it. And I 100% am for that. Go get your bank. Try to be a content creator. Like the dream is that you can run your own business and I can talk shit for a living. Hell yeah. I want to talk shit for a living. Like that's the dream. That's the freaking dream. You want to do that. But like the thing is the more and more ads you get, right? It, social media is almost turning into the new version of cable television. Cable television, like you have a program that airs for 30 minutes, but there's three different ad breaks. Like I'm gonna take an episode of Jeopardy, for example, right? You have the intro, and then you go through the first part of Jeopardy, and then Alex Trebek says, "We'll take a break." First break, right? Then you go through the second half, and then right before Double Jeopardy, you have a break. And then you play Double Jeopardy, and then you got another break. And then you answer the final Jeopardy question, and you have a break after that, and then they wrap up the episode. So there's three breaks in the whole thing. You get a lot of ads within that. With social media, the problem is every other post is an ad. Like, especially if you're like deep into influencer culture, you follow all these influencers, you could be going through TikTok for days of just like, oh yeah, okay, Charlie D'Amelio posted, oh, it's just a vitamin water ad. Next one, Addison Rae posted, oh, it's just an ad for like oil pastels. Oh, next, freaking Bryce Hall posted, oh, it's just an ad for his new TV show. Like that's what we're getting to. We're getting to an ad culture. There's no program no more. Like influencers are just like almost just making ads. I mean, to get their bank. Like I don't disrespect that. Like if you want to make money, go for it, bro. Like, go make your money. Like, go just get bank and get rich. And like, if you like, I'm sitting here talking with like 94 followers on Instagram. Like, Bryce Hall's got what 10 million, and he's like, yeah, bro, I'm just gonna make free. I'm gonna cash out and have an ad every other video. Like, I don't think. I almost like don't think that like these influencers that we call like the big social media stars, like the D'Amelios or like Addison Rae or any of these people are even like making content anymore. Like half their shit is just like sponsored, you know? And I feel like that's just the culture we're trending towards is like, oh, like we're just trending towards more sponsored posts and more this and more that. And you're like drifting away from the actual content, which kind of sucks, in my opinion, because social media is supposed to be about the content. It's supposed to be a free forum, a free conversation where anybody can contribute. And now it's just being polluted with ads. And that's where I argue like, oh, the useless side of socials is here. So that's kind of my argument in terms of that. But to transition from social media and the beautiful social media stars and the influencer culture and all this stuff, let me kind of take it down a notch. Let's go a little micro for a second. Uh, I mentioned earlier in the podcast that I am now, after like 8 tries, I think I've found my major. And kids, that's how you met your major, right? I've found it. I think I have. And it's communications. Okay. And so I've been taking a couple communications classes this quarter. And in one of my classes, the professor brought up this whole idea of like this. He has a take on accents. And I kind of wanted to share it with you because I think it's interesting. He said accents are beautiful. And I was like, okay, like I would like to see you explain why. And basically what he said, and it makes sense, we make fun of people with accents even though they're the ones who have to make the effort to communicate with us. And by us, I mean like the majority of the culture that knows English or, grew up with English as their first language, like I did. You know, that, like, that in itself was like, huh, like they have to make an effort. Like, like you think of like your Indian parents, like most of them didn't grow up with English as their first language. Maybe they did. To be fair, India, does have great education in terms of English, and they were colonized by the British. So there is a lot of English influence for sure. But maybe, hypothetically your parents are from China, right? Or from Taiwan or Korea. Their first language was most likely not English. Their first language was probably whatever dialect or whatever language they spoke in their particular region of the country. And they had to make that extra effort to learn another language. I mean, dude, those of you that took a foreign language in high school know how fucking hard it is to learn another language. Like, that's no joke. It is no joke to learn Spanish. So I thought I was cruising through Spanish, and then I took Spanish 2. I mean, for those of you that listen to my late night story, yeah, I mean, I didn't really try in Spanish 3, but in Spanish 2, we got to subjunctive tense, and I was like, okay, yeah, I'm out, chief. Like, this makes no sense, right? Like, and I was 14 years old, right? And I feel like, I mean, yeah, you can pick up languages really easy when you're young, and that 100% is, a skill. Um, but like when you get older, it's really hard to learn languages. And the fact is, most of our parents and most of these older figures that we know in our lives, who are minorities and that have thick accents, are struggling, but are still making a real clear effort to learn English. And we still make fun of them. That makes no sense, right? Like, take that, but apply it to a different context. So let's talk about math. Pretend like this was math class for a second, right? And you had a learning disability and you're in calculus and you're trying to learn what an integral is. And everyone is like in the class is just making fun of you, like, ha ha, like you can't learn what an integral is, even though you have this learning disability. So it makes it 5 times as harder for you to learn that, right? It's the same shit. It's just different. It's the same stuff with accents, right? It's like you are already at a disadvantage in this country because of the fact that you came from somewhere else and you had to learn that culture. And now you're learning this whole new culture and this whole new language. Yeah. Yeah. So all of a sudden I started thinking to myself, I was like, damn, is it wrong that I do the Indian accent? Like, is it wrong? Is it incorrect of me to make fun of people who have Indian accents? And like, here's what I'll say. I don't necessarily think that me doing an Indian accent, I'd say imitating in air quotes, my dad, because I don't really think he has an accent, or my mom, like imitating them with accents. I don't necessarily think that's a bad thing because I feel like my intent isn't necessarily to be like, oh, like you're, not an English language learner or whatever. And they don't have accents. So I just like do it. And I feel like if you are that certain race and you're making fun of like your people, I think that's cool. Like, I think that's fine to make fun of South Asians. But if I was making fun of like a Vietnamese man who was, learning English and I did the Vietnamese accent, yeah, I mean, it's slightly more, it's all context at the end of the day, I feel like. And that's my nuanced take, I guess, on accents is I recognize, like, before we laugh and make fun of people who are, who have thick accents and who are trying to speak English as best as they can. Like, we got to learn that like these people are probably multilingual, which is more skill in terms of language than you probably have ever had in your life. So it's like good for you, bro. Cuz like I just think back to like me trying to learn Spanish in high school and like wow, that was hard. Imagine they have to do that, right? Like look at our Indian parents. Most of them know like 3, 4, 5, 6 different languages. That's insane. And we just take that shit for granted. Like we're like, oh yeah, like she grew up there and then moved there and there and there, and she just kind of picked up the languages. And we still make fun of their accents. Like, hold up. Like let's take it back for a second and be like, damn, like that's impressive that you already know that many languages and you're learning another one on top of that. And like, yeah, you may get your words wrong sometimes, but you're pretty damn good at speaking English too. Like, yeah, your accent may be off. Like, you may say the wrong word at the wrong time, or like, it may be difficult to understand you. But I think we should be making that effort. And that's what my professor was trying to argue, was like, maybe you should make more of an effort to like understand people with accents, because they are making an effort to communicate with you. So why don't you communicate with them? So why don't you make that extra effort to make sure that they're understood? And I was like, huh, that's a very interesting thought to think about. And I know that was an incomplete thought, but it's something I've been marinating over the last couple of days, and I thought I would share. So that's my nuanced take on accents. Let's go to our, and I know that was like a weird kind of in between topic. It wasn't necessarily like a news thing. It wasn't necessarily like a pop culture thing. I just thought I would talk about it because it was an interesting thought that popped up. But let's go to this, man. I've had this thought for a long, long time that there are songs that I will listen to. There are like types of music, songs, particular notes, just rhythms that I'll get, and I'm like, "Oh my god, I'm transported back to a specific setting." Like, does anybody else have that? Where you're like listening to a song, sorry, where you're like listening to a song, where you're listening to a particular moment or like song, and you're just transported back to this very specific moment in time that you didn't even like know that memory was there, and the song like unlocks it. And typically it happens when you aren't necessarily you haven't listened to that song for a while, and then you like go back and you listen to it and it's like, whoa, like that happened, like that's crazy, that's super hype. So here's the thing. I'll go through a few of my songs that I feel like transport me to very, very specific moments in time, and I will, I'm curious. Like, do you guys have it? Like, please comment, talk me, DM me. Like, I'm curious to see if this is like a phenomenon that exists within people. The song "Lord Willin'" by Logic really takes me back to LA. We had an LA trip our junior year of high school, and I was just bumping Logic the whole trip. And that particular song, for some reason, just makes me think of like the old, like those deserty Southern California mountains. For those of you that have like spent time in SoCal or go to college in SoCal, probably know what I'm talking about. You know, like the San Bernardino Mountains, like that type of stuff. Like Lord Willin' just makes me think of like the drive down 5, or like the drive to San Bernardino, or like the drive to LA, right? Like that type of thing. Southern California just in general. Under the Cover of Darkness makes me think of graduation, particularly high school graduation. I don't know why. I mean, it's just got that vibe to it. I like the guitar, all of that. Like it just makes me think of high school again. Saturday Nights makes me think of Iceland. Saturday Nights by Khalid. Under the Cover of Darkness is by The Strokes, by the way. It's a 2000 song. Saturday Nights by Khalid makes me think of Iceland, because when I was in Iceland, I was listening to that song and like really wanted to be home. I don't like cold weather places, and Iceland is no exception. Iceland is fucking cold, by the way. Jesus, I could not do Iceland. Workout makes me think of like eighth grade, like ninth grade dance, like particularly like this one dance in our freshman year. I think it was like the homecoming dance or something. I don't know why it makes me think of that, but I don't know. I mean, workout just goes in, bro. It's a fucking number, and it makes me think of college too, because we used to play that song at porch parties. Shout out to those who are listening from Redlands. Yeah. Controlla makes me think of the shower. I Control Controller makes me think of the freaking shower. I used to sing this song in college in the shower whenever it would come on, and apparently I was a really loud singer, and like many people on the floor above me like heard the Drake vocals that I would sing, and I'd be like controller, right? Like and people would just not be people were like, dude, you can sing, but also like, please shut up, and I was like, I get it, maybe I need to be quieter. So I really stopped singing that song. I sing it in private though. I'll sing it now. I'll be like, controller, like great song, fucking legendary Drake song. Get along better, dude. Oh, certified lover boy. That's besides the point though. Anyway, a couple other ones. 2009 by Mac Miller makes me think of like driving for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why that is, but it does. Selfish Girls makes me think of like, so there was this one time my senior year of high school where I had to walk home And I live pretty far from the school, so it was like an hour and a half walk home. And I walked home and I was walking on the freeway. And it's this song Selfish Girls by Jake Miller. And it was like on repeat for some reason. I don't know. My phone was broken or something. And it's like, it goes like, this song's for selfish girls. They want the whole. I don't know why I was listening to it. I had no girlfriend at the time and I really had no relationship issues. So I don't know why I was listening to that song, but it was an anthem, bro. It was an anthem for that walk home. So it just makes me think of that walk home. And then the last one is Santa Tell Me. Ariana Grande version only, though. Ariana Grande version only. And that's a very long story. Maybe I'll write about it. Maybe next late night stories will be about Santa Tell Me and that song. I don't know. But let's just say I had a little moment under the mistletoe to Santa Tell Me, are you really there? Right? Like I had a little moment to that song under the mistletoe, but that's all I'm gonna give you. So yeah, I mean, I feel like different songs definitely have different moments under like that you think about. And those songs are just this was just a fun topic I thought I would do for music this week. But I'm curious, like what songs transport you guys? Those are just a few that transport me to specific moments in time. Um, I wonder if this is like a phenomenon that exists within people, or it's just me being weird and having those very particular songs like relate to very particular like moments and images in my mind. So from music, let's go to worldwide issues and politics. No, I'm kidding. Let's go to news though. Greta Greta Thunberg. I apologize if I'm getting her last name wrong, but Greta. Okay, I know she was so 2019 and like 3 years ago, and when she was striking school and all that. But I got to talk about Greta for a second, man. Greta's real interesting. I remember back in 2018, 2019, I was taking APES at the time, which is AP Environmental Science, aka AP Depression, for those of you in high school. AP Environmental Science is basically all the ways you're going to die, right? Because of the environment. And because the fact is, like, America doesn't give a shit about the environment. And George W. Bush and all the various presidents after him have just caused legislation to create more, you know, uh, less awareness in terms of the climate. It sucks. Shit sucks. And Greta Thunberg is really one of the first people who's like, yo, what the frick are y'all doing? And like, I listened to her speech again because we listened to it in high school, and I honestly like laughed because I was like, I did not think she was like, she's what, 16, 15 at the time. I like did. I was like, she's so young. Like, she's probably just like, like scream. She's like, I just thought it was funny. She was like screaming at the UN and like they were trying to like clap to like shut her up. But like, I watched it again, dude. And let me tell you what I got from it. Greta Thunberg, dude, I feel so bad because for laughing. Because let me tell you why. This girl has genuine like sadness in her eyes. Like when she like sing or when she is just up there like talking about that stuff, like you can tell like it comes from such a genuine place. I don't know, like you look at her and she just eases authenticity. She oozes authenticity. She's real. In high school, I was like, oh, she's young. I was also 17 and I was probably just laughing because I thought her face was funny, which is an incorrect assumption of me. I'm a little older now. Like I kind of understand the context of what she's saying. Yeah, she's 100% correct. And I feel like the thing is, there are a lot of activists in this generation, right? You have the Sean Kings of the world, the AOCs of the world. You have all of these different activists that people preach by and follow, and create as these guys. Greta Thunberg and I'll tell you the two activists that I genuinely respect within this generation. And there's two in particular. It is Greta Thunberg and it is Malala. Those are the two. And let me tell you why. Malala has lived that experience. She literally almost died fighting for what it was that she wanted. Okay. And if she doesn't ooze realness, I mean, watch the interview with Letterman that she does. I don't know. Like, I feel like I get more of a vibe when like I listen to people on a podcast or in an interview. And Malala is just one of the most authentic people that I can see from the camera, at least. I don't know what she's like off camera or anything. I'm sure she's the same. And she fights for what she wants, and I respect it. And Greta does the same shit. Greta is fighting for something that like no one really, frankly gives a shit about in this country, the environment. And I have been on record saying that like the environment, like I think the environment technically should be the number one issue that we should be worried about right now, because literally the existence of the human race depends on it, right? No one gives a fuck in 30 years about the deficit and about the $1 trillion budget. Like, no one gives a shit. In 30 years, that's not going to matter if, the world is burning down and there's carbon emissions in the air and all of this stuff. So Greta's 100% right. And I really hope people start listening to her, because she's kind of spitting facts. She's kind of saying the right thing. She's not necessarily wrong or incorrect in any way. And so I feel like we should give her the time of day to be able to speak on these things and be able to have conversations about Greta Thunberg and the issues that she is talking about, because it's really freaking important. And she comes from a good place, and I can tell, man. There's also a story that she convinced her mother to stop her career because she was an international opera singer, so she would fly a lot. And Greta basically said, like, I will not be your daughter if you don't, like, stop flying all across Europe and wasting jet fuel. Yeah, it's a little extreme, but also, like, the greats are always extreme, man. The people who actually cause change are the ones that actually, like, go out and make something happen. And I feel like Greta does that. I feel like she's young, she's 18, I get it. Whatever. She's short, she's a woman, she has so many things working against her. People probably aren't going to listen to her. You think fucking Ron Paul gives a fuck about Greta Thunberg? No, there's hella American politicians that are probably laughing her off. Joe Biden and Kamala Harris are probably sitting in the Oval Office like, what is this 18-year-old gonna do? So I think that's our job, is to listen to her, because I think what she's saying is completely nonpartisan. And that's the thing, that climate change shouldn't be partisan. Climate change should be an issue that we all care about, right? It's real. There is scientific proof in front of you that it is happening. Whether you choose to believe it is, I mean, that's your prerogative, but it's happening. It's happening. And in 100 years, when the human race is crying, and when, the American president then is scrambling to save his ass, he's not going to be caring about budget or weapons or the military if the whole freaking world is burning down. So Greta's onto something, and I feel like, it's our job to listen to her and to be able to really have those tough conversations. I think that's 100% our job. So the last climate change topic, I think the politics. I mean, this was kind of getting at what I was saying earlier. The politics are bullshit. Climate change politics are stupid. I mean, if you think about it, like, what are we really fighting over? Like, it kind of, like, I get it, right? In, like, Donald Trump, or not Donald Trump, George W. Bush had certain interests when it came to oil and stuff in Iraq, and we've talked about that, and we've had discussions about that. And you could see why he wasn't necessarily interested in increasing environmental protections. But Obama didn't really do much. He signed a couple agreements. That's what I'm saying, dude. These Paris climate agreements and all these climate agreements in general they're pacts, right? But they're pacts that are kind of built on trust. You bring all these countries together and you say, yeah, we'll sign it. And, like, the whole world will sign it and whatnot. And they'll be like, we promise, we promise, we promise. But there's not necessarily any accountability for anybody. If you're going to, like, any country can go home and the next day break the rules. It doesn't matter. There's no accountability behind any of these freaking pacts, like whether it be the Kyoto Protocol, or I think that's what it's called, Kyoto Protocol, the Paris Climate Agreement. Any of these climate agreements don't really have any, like, authoritative force behind it. There's no punishment if you don't follow it. Like, that's the problem. That's the problem. Maybe there should be something put into place that actually forces these countries to be like, yo, we gotta do this. Otherwise, we're gonna, lose something. But that's not gonna happen. That's not gonna happen. Because whether you like it or not, the United States climate change politics are dictated by the president and by the party that's in power, which is the problem with partisan politics, right? And which is I don't understand why the parties have to make every freaking issue partisan. Climate change should be a bipartisan issue. It should be a nonpartisan issue because it's science. It's about what's actually happening. So if you are just truly delusional if you do not believe that climate change is is like a real thing because there's evidence everywhere. Sea ice, whether it be sea ice, whether it be the emissions in the air, like there's data everywhere, right? So why is this political? Like why is this political? And it's political because of money and greed, and that's really what it comes down to. It comes down to money and greed and people who don't do their and that's about it. It's money and greed from the politicians. And you might be asking, like, oh, yo, there's so many people out there who are, like, what was I going to say? I was like, there's so many people out there who are, you know, climate change, like deniers. Like, they're everywhere. I know a few. Where do they come from? And truly, it comes from people who work in industries that would be affected if we were to actually make changes. E.g., people who work at oil companies or coal or, any of these non renewable energy companies. They tend to defend non renewable energy. I mean, coal miners, like, I feel bad. I feel bad for a lot of these people because they would be out of jobs. And I'm not necessarily talking about the corporate execs that run like Halliburton. Like, they can go fuck themselves for all I care. But like, it's the people who are working the mines, who are, waking up every day at 5 in the morning to ingest 2 tons of coal, to dig up coal, to make a living for their family in West Virginia. Those are the people I give a shit about because they're the ones who are actually going to be losing jobs. And there's no real plan for what they're going to do afterwards because a lot of people have been working in the coal mines since the 1800s. They're like sixth generation, seventh generation coal miners, like people who've worked in the oil fields, all this stuff like that shit is real, whether you like it or not. And I understand why they're so adamantly like no, and like they're forced to kind of support uh anti-climate change resolutions, which sucks, But on another note, I would love to have a conversation with the climate change denier. I would love to see the documentation that they provide me. I would read it. I think it would just be an interesting conversation. I think, and this kind of leads to my next thing that I want to talk about. I feel like we need to make friends from people who are different than us. Like, should we like surround ourselves with people that are different than us? I, let me give you my experience, and let me talk from the other side first. I understand if you want to hang out with people that are all, thinking the same thing because it's comfortable. It's comfortable. People who have the same values, people who are in the same socioeconomic class, people who have the same educational background, same family background, race, gender, all of that. Like, it makes sense, right? Because that's what you're used to. You're like, oh, I agree. I agree. I agree. And it's this like kumbaya, like, oh, we all agree with each other. But I think you need, like, to really advance as a human being, you need opposition. You need people who are like, no, you're wrong. No, you're incorrect. No, I disagree with you. Because otherwise, there's no discourse, right? There can be, like, I mean, I'm talking like politically different than you. I'm talking like racially different than you because everybody's got different life experiences. So I think 100% like our friends should be different than us. But I feel like we are all caught up in the echo chamber because unfortunately, like where you live, like you're kind of surrounded by the same type of person. If you live in San Francisco, California, your odds are you're mostly surrounded by tech people, someone who works in tech, college educated, um, makes 100 grand a year plus, liberal, progressive. Like, it's the same type of person. You're not gonna like bump into a guy that's making $45,000 a year, eighth generation family farm, runs horses, is a horse breeder on the side to make a little extra money. Like, you're not gonna run into that if you live in San Francisco. A lot of it has to do with location, and a lot of it has to do with our comfort level as human beings as well. I mean, I could say that too. Like, I grew up in a suburb where it was majority Asian. It was majority Asian Americans. So I'm talking majority Asian Americans, majority South Asian Americans. And those are the people I feel comfortable by. I mean, they're what I grew up around, right? They look like you. They have the same values as you. Their parents whoop your ass if they get a B. Like, that's comfortable. It's like you don't have to like explain yourself to white people all the time. Like, I get it. I get why people want to hang out with other people that look like them and share the same values and have grown up with similar experiences because it's just easier, right? There's a lot of stuff, but I think in order to like fully advance as a human being, you need to have friends who are different, who are like, yo, I grew up this way, I'm conservative, I'm this, I'm that. And that's where I get into this weird gray area of like, if you have friends that are polar opposite than you, like, what do you agree on? And like that's where I feel like the friendship hits a certain ceiling. Like you cannot bond if you don't agree on fundamental things. If you disagree on everything, you're not really friends. And so it's this weird, like, kind of spot of like, I don't know where this is gonna go. Like, I don't know where all of this is going to be. And so that's like, it's a very interesting conversation if you think about it, the way it all breaks down. Of like, should we have friends that are different than us? Like, absolutely. But like, what if you're polar opposites? Then you shouldn't be friends, right? Like, it's super complicated. Um, like I 100% am pro diversity of thought, pro diversity of race, pro diversity of educational level, pro diversity of like, um, economic, socioeconomic class. But the fact is, like, bubbles are created for the reason that human beings find comfort in the people that they, uh, are surrounded by. Like that is truly like what the fact. If you have like similar characteristics with someone, like you're more likely to be compatible rather than someone that's different. And there are a lot of arguments from people out there that are like, listen, you need to surround yourself with people that are different than you in order to fully advance yourself as a human being and in order to actually have like a real diversity of thought. And I totally agree with that. But also, there can be people that are so different from you to the point where you're not even friends. You're just arguing all the time. And that's not a real friendship. So it's just an interesting food for thought. Like, should our friends be different than us? Like, yes, but also no. Like, there should be some commonality there, I think, in my opinion. But it is possible to have friends that are different than you, but also, you know, have commonalities. Like, I think that that does exist. Like, don't get me wrong. I think that is a reality that can happen. And I know we're way over 52 minutes. Jeez. Let's go to the last topic. This is something I want to talk about. Driving anxiety. This is about me. So I'm sorry. I'm being self-centered, but I promise I'll keep it short. I'm curious. Do any of you like have anxiety when it comes to driving cars? I do. I 100% do. And I'll tell you, I can only really drive with my dad in the car. Um, if it's anybody else, I flip. Like, I get real scared. If I have like any other person like in the car, I become like this. My hands freeze, they clam up, my brain goes haywire. Like, it is hard to drive with other people in the car for some reason. What Like, even driver's tests like are really difficult for me because I see the examiner and like I freak out. Like, I have butterflies in my stomach, my legs freeze up, like I feel like I can't touch the accelerator. It's really, really hard. And that's partially the reason why I've like failed my driver's test multiple times. I really can't do it. And I've had this issue for a while. Whether it's like driving anxiety of like, oh my god, like what if I just fucking blow up this vehicle and we both die right now? Like, I I have that multiple times. And like, especially when I'm driving with other people. I don't know. Like, I think the one person I can drive with and it's fine is like my dad, because I don't know, there's comfort there, right? Like, he's the first person that ever took me on a drive, and he's the one who taught me driving. So like, there's a level of comfort there. I feel like if I feel like my dad was the driving examiner, I'd be fine. I would be passing these tests. But no, when it's like a huge white man that looks like he could have played offensive tackle at the University of Alabama, like, yeah, I get freaked out. Like, I freak out. I don't know why. I don't know why. It's genuinely something that puzzles me. It's so scary. Driving is scary. Um, it's just, it all freaks me out, man. I can't do driving for some reason. I don't know. Particularly the tests. Like, I freak out. I know how to drive a car. I can drive a car. If you're in the car with me with my dad, you will see I'm a decent driver. I can drive well. I can drive effectively. I cannot do it with other people in the car for some reason. I don't know why. I don't know why. It's just this true anxiety that's manifested within me, and it's gotten to the point where it's like, wow, like, I genuinely don't think I'm going to be able to drive with anybody else besides my dad in the car for the rest of my life. And I may just have to, like, when he dies, like, carry a freaking, picture of him in the car, just to, like, assure myself, like, you're gonna be fine. I just can't do it. And you guys are looking at me like, dude, you're 21 and you can't fucking drive a car. And I don't know what it is. I don't know what it is. If you guys have any tips to deal with driving anxiety, to deal with driving, to like, I practice a lot. I drive to and from, places and I go on drives and I can, I'm pretty good. I think I'm really good. It's just when I get to the test, like I go full Eminem, like palms are sweaty, knees weak, arms are heavy. There's vomit on his sweater already. Mom spaghetti, like that's me. Mom spaghetti is all over my fucking body, right? Like I'm done. I can't do driving, bro. And if you guys have tips, if you guys went through this, I would love to hear from you. Um, yeah. But that is my show. I know it went a little long. We talked about a lot. We talked about like 9, 10 different topics. I hope you guys enjoyed it. I hope this was somewhat enjoyable for you all. Amidst my many rants, we went everywhere from the 49ers to fans, sports fans, to teleporting to different moments. So went all over the place. If you guys like the show, like and subscribe to the channel. If you're on YouTube, if you're on Spotify, go ahead and hit the follow button, please. It would do me wonders. The plays have been going up recently, so I guess people are enjoying the content. So I hope you guys continue to enjoy it. More stories are going to be coming out. Hopefully, some more podcasts in the future. I'm not really in the headspace to do podcasts right now, but I'm enjoying this. I hope you guys are enjoying the Changavi shows. But anyway, that's besides the point. I really hope you guys are enjoying the content that I'm putting out. If you guys have any suggestions, you can feel free to DM me on any social media platform that I have: Twitter, Instagram, TikTok. I will most likely respond. Um, and yeah, that's pretty much all I got. I hope you guys have a wonderful evening, day, afternoon, whenever you're watching this. And I'll catch you on the next show or piece of content that I drop. So have a great one, and I'll see y'all. Peace.